Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependummy podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. Now, in your 20s, you're finding yourself exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. Codependency is a way of being where we put the feelings, wants, and needs of others above our own in an unconscious attempt to meet our own feelings, wants, and needs. Sorry to break it to you, sis, but that is not sustainable. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Codependummy podcast. This week, we are graced with the presence of Shauna, a codependummy listener who has bravely volunteered to come on for our beloved segment, the Codependummy Dilemma. In this episode, we will hear about Shauna and aspects of her codependency. We will also be working and talking through an area of her life where she's being a codependent dummy and wants to shine like a codependent diamond. It's codependency coaching. Just as a reminder for everyone listening, this is not therapy. I am a therapist, but therapy is focused on the past and working through things. For this segment, we're going to hear about the past, but focus on the present and future actions Shauna can take to combat her codependency. All right, so there's the warning label. So Shauna, I'm curious if you can share with us. Well, we'll start. How did you hear about the show, and what has kept you listening?
So I have been going to therapy for years, and at one point, this codependency concept came up, and I don't know that my therapist is super well versed on it or really wanted to guide me down that path, but she did suggest looking for some sort of podcast. So I just kind of went out and did my own search, and I stumbled upon one and started listening for a while, and it just wasn't connecting with it, wasn't clicking. And then listened to yours next, and almost every episode was yes, resonating with me, every single one. And so I just purged it for quite a while until I got caught up. So
wow. You purged or binged?
Binged. There you go. Binged. Binged it.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm so glad it resonated. And yeah, thanks to it resonating. I am curious to hear what comes to mind. What can you share about ways you were raised, reinforced, and rewarded to put the needs of others above your own?
So I did your 30-day journaling prompts, and it took me a while to really get to where it came from in my youth. And I still I really don't feel like I recognized it until very recently, but I was raised, so when I was young, my dad was an alcoholic. And my mom was the overcompensating, I'll say codependent, trying to cover up and do all the things for him, and then make sure our lives were just 100% amazing. Wow. And so I think because of that, some of these things came up. But I always said that my dad's alcoholism never really affected my life. He was just gone, was kind of the basic theme. But really starting to recognize how that did come into my life.
Right.
And my mom, part of her demeanor too, is always sticking up for the underdog, which is never me. And so I feel like I was always trying to win her love, affection, whatnot. And then anytime we did have feelings, whatever, thoughts, wants, I feel like it was just often invalidated, and probably partly due to that, like sticking up for the underdog, because that was never us. And so we always had to like think of the other person, whoever else was involved, and what they
Wow.
needed and what they wanted. And so it's just kind of ingrained in me since I
Wow.
was little.
Right. So your parents modeled, I'm hearing, the typical codependent alcoholic dynamic,
Mhm.
and you witnessed your mom overcompensating for him and for the family. And then this always rooting for the underdog, which wasn't you, which taught you to, yeah, be hyper aware of thinking of others and what they need and what they want while dismissing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. In a
Yeah.
nutshell, yeah.
And any other thoughts on ways you were raised, reinforced, and rewarded that come to mind?
Not not right now. Those are kind of the big themes.
Yeah. Okay. And oh yeah, also just for everyone listening, Shauna's referencing the confiding codependummy. And yeah, it's 30 days of journaling prompts for a more conscious and less codependent you. So it does sound like it was helpful in shedding light on what's contributed, right? You don't know the root causes, but you're creating a sense of contributing factors.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So how have these patterns of being raised, reinforced, and rewarded to put the needs of others above your own, how has that left you, Shauna, exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, including the one you have with yourself?
So I've dated a number of men who have struggled with addiction,
Mhm.
um, who've treated me like crap, more or less. But yet I've lied for them, made excuses for them, done whatever to, cover up for them. And I think just in general in my life, always, I don't know, reading the room, kind of subconsciously figuring out what everybody else wants. How should I respond
Mhm.
according to what they're portraying or what they're needing? And always saying yes,
Mhm.
like always having to be the one to step up, to help, to do, to whatever. And I don't know that I really felt like that it was really exhausting in my life. I mean, it was, but it's really just been the last couple of years that it really has like become a problem,
Mhm.
exhausting, like really
Right.
been kind of shoved in my face.
Right.
Which brought me kind of to where I am today. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah. And in it, so throughout all that, one of the things that our family became a foster family, foster mom and dad. And I really like, I love what we do there, and I
Mhm.
love aspects of it. Um, but I really am starting to reflect on that and see all the ways that like I'm I'm saying yes to more than I should. I'm
Mm.
worried about everybody else, not myself. Yeah, and just kind of putting myself last and everybody else first, and that includes
Right.
a whole lot of people in that dynamic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two aspects of what you mentioned piqued my curiosity. I wonder what weighs on you or is impacting you the most. So the exhaustion has begun to take a toll recently.
Mhm.
I'm curious what that looks like, sounds like, feels like. Yeah, how you've experienced that, and or the reflecting that you've done on being a foster mother, foster family. Yeah, what you've become aware of these patterns of saying yes more than you should, putting everyone else above you. So which one do you want to expand on?
We can talk about the exhaustion.
Okay, tell us about codependent exhaustion.
So, foster care specifically, we keep saying yes, and I think more than anything, I convinced my husband to say yes too. It's always a joint decision, and I always want his opinion and feedback, but like I can be fairly persuasive. So yeah, so we've just recently we said yes to some very young little kids. So we've had four. When we took them, there were four kids under the age of four, with some pretty high needs. And we've had them for the past 2.5 years. And so for the past couple of years, our life is just appointments and visits and schedules and kids, and among all the normal day-to-day things that you would do with these little kids and how needy they are at the ages they are, it's just a constant go 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 go, doing. So yeah, so that's a big piece of our exhaustion, just the saying yes to so many and what it brought into our lives, and not like recognizing even earlier, like asking for help. And this was probably too much for our family. So here we still are. And at 2.5 years in, it's even harder to say, maybe we need a break.
Right. And related to exhaustion, I hear what's contributing to you feeling that. What is it like in your body, with your sleep, your diet, your exercise? Yeah, just like different ways impacting your physical body.
Yeah, so I've spent so much time worrying about everybody else and what they need and getting them all the things. That yeah, I typically had been a fairly healthy, active, I'd say somewhat carefree person, and I've definitely have not been in that space. So since I've been listening to this podcast and recently, like I have put a lot more priority on myself and have started to turn things around, but that's super recent. So until then, like, I mean, eating whatever, drinking whatever, just not moving at all, no active lifestyle, which is hard for me because that's not who I am, and I do enjoy that stuff.
Right.
And yeah, my sleep was crap. Like I was not sleeping. And
Wow.
like among it, I was pretty supportive of the kids' bio parents too. And so just like being available to them constantly was exhausting and a drain. And so yeah, just everybody else and never me.
Right. Everybody else. Always everybody else, never me.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I'm hearing this way of being where you are available to everybody else, never yourself. And as a consequence, that's really like dissonant with, opposing to this value you have of being a physically active person.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and you're like, oh, eating whatever, drinking whatever, not moving, not sleeping, and right, just this toll that, especially the past 2.5 years with these 4 children under the age of 4 and their bio parents and the social workers, and oh my gosh, all the appointments.
Right.
And yet this is the long-term consequence of this pattern where you really have prioritized the needs of others above your own.
Yeah. And I think it got to the point where like I was noticing physical things with my body. Like I was sick all the time. I would get better for 4 or 5 days, 6 days, whatever. And then I'd be right back into the next big cold, big whatever.
Wow.
And like just random aches, pains, all those sort of things. So yeah, it was a lot of physical things manifesting that I think were kind of the like, I've got to do something different.
Yep. There is an episode. I mean, we have talked about the body before and we'll continue to talk about it. But yeah, I'm aware there is an episode, The Physical Toll of Codependency. And it's debilitating.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on ways you have, your codependency has left you exhausted, exasperated, or enveloped in shit relationships?
I think another thing I noticed that I didn't recognize until recently, but like I really talk like crap to myself. Like my self-talk is horrible. So it's even now as I'm trying to be more aware and conscious, that's probably the hardest thing to change and to make a dent in.
Can you enlighten us with a sentence or two?
Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible mom. I can't do all the things right. Whenever something fell apart, like it was 100% on me and why I wasn't doing, like I must be a horrible person if things aren't going well, if a kid is failing, if they're not thriving, if a specifically, I think the hardest one was like and this is so like sick and unhealthy, but if the bio parents were upset with me because I didn't do exactly what they asked or wanted or whatever with their kids or with a visit or whatever. And so I must be such a horrible person because I can't accommodate that, and just conversations like that.
Right. You said horrible 3 times. So I'm a horrible mom. I must be a horrible person. I am a horrible person. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Shauna, the horrible.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So talk about enveloped in a shit relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
There's this part of you that deems you horrible, and this other part of you trying to prove it wrong. And yet here's a bio parent, for everyone, biological parent of a foster child that you're parenting, fostering, and you're not able to meet their expectations, mind you, you're taking care of their child.
Right.
And you're the horrible mom.
Right.
Yeah. The state has literally taken children from parents who technically aren't doing a great job, might be doing a horrible job. They've entrusted you, Shauna, because they sense you won't do a horrible job. And yet, when a parent who's deemed by the state to be a horrible parent doesn't agree with or has an issue with how you're parenting their child that they don't have rights to parent at the time, if you're not satisfying them, you're horrible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty
And
yucky.
that's
Pretty yucky. I don't know.
yucky.
Yeah.
Ugh. Codependency. Ugh.
Mhm.
Gross. Yeah. Okay. Any other ways? Exhausted, exasperated, enveloped in shit relationships?
No. But I will say, like, as I'm listening to your podcast and like recognizing all the things that I need to work on, it really is, it's hard. And like, so I've cut out a lot of people that are unhealthy, or just put some pretty strong boundaries around them. And it leaves me feeling at times like just lost. And like, I don't know, it's weird to kind of reflect and go, gosh, I had that much just negative, unhealthy stuff in my life, and now I'm kind of left with this empty bowl, clean slate, whatever, and trying to find the things to fill that, but yet at the same time not trying to overfill, and to
Right.
just sit with some peace and some quiet and contentment for a while. So it's kind of like it's been like a roller coaster of kind of like feeling good about it and knowing I'm on the right track, and kind of feeling like that yucky emptiness, and just kind of going back and forth between those two.
Mm-hmm. For those of you listening, I'm just nodding. I can't stop nodding, Sean. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is fucking hard to do this. And the podcast has illuminated that reality for you, and your experiences thus far in addressing your codependency have illuminated that. Right? Okay, I'm gonna cut out negative people. I'm gonna put up really strong boundaries, because that's what Marissa and my therapist and all these books say to do. But now I have all this time and I have no one to reach out to, or less people to reach out to. And wow, I had that much negativity in my life. And yet now I have this empty bowl, right? Clean slate. And it's going to take time to fill that bowl consciously, right? You didn't fill it consciously before.
Yeah.
So now you have to discern and reflect and practice compassion and take things slow. And yeah, for the in between, a bowl filled with negativity and a bowl that's, like satisfactorily filled with positivity and neutral aspects of life, right? In the in between, you're just having to experience, like you said, the roller coaster, feeling good, and then also feeling like shit.
Yeah. But however, in that, I will say, I'm learning to rely on myself to get through those times, instead of, like, previously anything that would happen, any little thing, any whatever. It was like, who can I text and let them know? Or, I had to reach out and tell somebody and get that validation that I was right or whatever it was.
Right.
So yeah, so have been doing a lot more self-reliance, which is hard. But that's been really helpful. And I think honestly helps me sit in those lows for less time because I'm not drawing it out.
And you're also not potentially exposing yourself to what was so hurtful and harmful despite your mom's best intentions.
Mhm.
When as a child you did reach out to her in some capacity and you were somehow reminded you're not the underdog here, Shauna.
Mhm.
Right? Which that's a risk. That is a risk when we do reach out. We don't always get the validation and support that we seek. We actually get invalidated and dismissed. So sometimes, yeah, being able to validate, comfort, reassure, rely on ourselves. It's, of course, we'd want support, but having the capacity to rely on ourselves is better than relying on negativity, gaslighting, belittling, etc.
Right. And I'm getting to the point where like I at least take the time to, most of the time, take the time to sit with it myself before I do decide if I want to reach out for that extra support. Because a lot of times as I sit with whatever it is myself, I can just move on from that and don't need anything else.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I am curious. You volunteered to come on. Where are you currently where are you playing small? Where are you being codependummy? And you want to talk through, strategize, problem solve, how you can take up more space.
So I listened to your episode about boundaries. I think you've only had one so far. And I am currently working through her course that she offered, but I haven't completed it yet. But I know one of the areas I struggle with are those emotional boundaries and separating myself from others' emotions. And I think specifically right now, like my husband, and not all the time, but like our life is stressful, our life is hard. And so when he's having that stressful time and he's just in a yucky mood, frustrated, aggravated, whatever it is, like I take that on and it's really hard for me to separate. And I like right now, the only way I can think of is to like, I just can't be in the same room as you when you're like that, but it's really hard. Like he doesn't want to leave and we have all the kids and I don't want to leave him with them. He's already frustrated. And so like leaving doesn't feel like an option. And like we've talked about it and I've asked him to like remove himself and he has places to go. We have a shop and whatever, but a lot of times like when in the moment he doesn't. And so I do wind up getting just as frustrated, aggravated. And so like I need different methods to kind of separate myself. And another specific situation that comes up a lot. So my mom has some pretty high anxiety about a lot of things. And no matter how much I can like pep talk myself before I go see her, whatever the conversation turns into, I find myself like taking on that anxiety as well. and almost portraying it back to her and just getting super frustrated and anxious in our conversations instead of being able to just like sit back and acknowledge her anxiety and respond appropriately and kind of separate myself from that.
Right. Okay. I'd love to unpack both of these. And I also sense overall, right, the doing different episodes, I've wanted to I have guests on who have 2 or 3 specialties, right? And I want to talk about each of them, but it robs you and your fellow listeners of the depth from one aspect of that. And so, yeah, I am hearing 2 areas where you're playing small, where you're being a codependent. So if and when your husband is in a yucky mood, you take it on and you cannot separate from it. And it's just this domino effect where he's feeling yucky, you're feeling yucky that he's feeling yucky. And I'm sure it impacts the kids, your day, your physical body, all the things.
Yeah.
So there's one area. And then also if and when you interact with or visit your mother. And here you are, you're aware of it, you give yourself a pep talk, you're doing your utmost to not get entangled in her high anxiety. And yet to this day, if and when you go pep talk, you start talking with her and her high anxiety, it's contagious and you take it on. You cannot sit back without, right, getting frustrated, right? Sounds like you start to, I don't know, just the 2 of you, it sounds like there's like tension or conflict commences and you leave, right? Blah. The pep talk didn't work. Mom has high anxiety. Now I have high anxiety. And the domino effect. It impacts you, it impacts the day, your foster children, and so on. What is weighing on your heart the heaviest currently?
Probably my mom.
Okay, let's go with mom.
Yeah.
How come, yeah, what other thoughts do you have like that this is weighing heavier?
Because I feel like I've been struggling with the same thing with my mom for years and years and years. And I feel like my husband and I like we do talk about ways to like deal with that. And it's just kind of like keep acknowledging those and keep having conversations when we're not frustrated. So I feel like we can kind of work through that if we can get there. But I feel like my mom's is definitely more prominent.
Yep, I agree. So I hear more of an ability to team and partner with your husband because he is your team mate and partner. You're like, oh, look at us actually talking about and working and attempting to address this, acknowledging that it'll take time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but mom, you're like, oh my God, I've been struggling with that for years. And she's not your teammate. She's your mom. Right. And she's not your partner. She's your mom. And she's had high anxiety. I'm assuming your whole life, maybe her whole life. And it's the same pattern, there's like a saying in like 12 step, like same bad channel. You just reruns.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So Shauna, what is the worst part about this pattern for you? What's the worst? What is the worst? You're just like, ugh, if we could just end this so I wouldn't have to experience? Like what is it?
I think that it's to the point that I just almost dread our interactions.
Do you
And
almost dread or do you
I
dread?
dread.
You dread.
I dread our interactions.
Say, I dread my interactions with my mother.
I dread my interactions with my mother. And I am very thoughtful about what I say to her and limit what I say to her. And I can't just have a conversation, right? And so then, I don't know, which is doable, but still frustrating and not the relationship I want with her on a one-to-one basis. But then when we get in with bigger groups and bigger crowds, like the conversations I have and the things I say, I don't mind and on a day-to-day basis, but like if she overhears them, then she's kind of taking that and her anxiety comes into play and all those things. So it's like it's like even in a group now, I'm like aware of what I'm saying to other people when she's listening so that I don't have to deal with that reaction from her.
When you are one-on-one later, or does she react in the group?
Usually later, sometimes in the group. In the group, she'll probably usually just ask a question or two. But then usually it's afterwards that I'll get calls or texts with all the things, the questions, the comments, all of the things she's thought about since then.
Okay. So I'm dying to hear, and I wonder if it'll help the listeners, your fellow listeners as well, to give us context. Can you think of the worst recent example of this pattern and what happened?
The worst recent example. So this isn't even necessarily conversation that we're having, but like, okay, so I have 4 kids.
Mhm.
They're young. They all have traumas, they all have stuff. They all have behaviors, they all have things we're working through. And even now, like when we go to an event, we were just at church last week and they were loud, wild, whatever. It is what it is. Like we're tired depending on how they're acting, right? Toddlers
They
climbing
were
all over
kids
you.
at church.
Yeah, it is what it is. But like
They were
this is our
children.
life. Yeah, this is our life. We expected. It is what it is. Like whatever. And like I turn around after church and it's just this look of like pity on her face. And so this again, it's not even conversation. It's just like
It's
my life.
conversation, Shauna. That's conversation. What was she saying
Facial, yeah.
implicitly in response to your ability or inability to control your 4 foster children during church?
Right. Like I
What was
can't
she
do
saying?
it. I'm not doing a good enough job keeping them together. They're too much for me. I definitely need a break and need help and all of that. Yeah.
Right. So she looks at you and she says, Shauna, daughter, you can't do this. You're not doing a good job at this. You're horrible at this. I added that, but you need a break. You need help, because if you don't get a break and you don't get help, these kids are just going to keep acting like this and they're going to be out of control. And something bad's going to happen because they're so out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Any other high anxiety communication she conveyed to you implicitly?
And I think it's a lot of like And they're exhausting you and they're depleting you and you need more and you need better. And I don't know.
Mm. They're exhausting you. They're depleting you. Shauna, I'm worried about you.
Mhm.
Mm.
Because I obviously can't do it, right?
You can't wrangle 4 children to be calm for an hour in a space where, I mean, it wasn't really designed for children, or when it was designed, children weren't as important culturally. I don't know, they have trauma. They're foster kids. It's not like they've been
Right.
raised thus far. I mean, you got some of them when they were young, but going to church is hard. It
Right.
is so hard. Sit down, put your hands on your lap, and don't speak for an hour. But all the rest of the day, you can talk, you can run around, you can play. I don't know, like, and you're surrounded by adults and children, which in school it's, couple adults, but a lot of kids. It's just it's a very odd environment for children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're exhausting you, they're depleting you. I'm worried about you. And right, what was that like for her to convey that to you?
What was it like for her?
For you.
For me?
Yeah.
I mean, I walked away and told my husband, I wish she would stop pitying me. Like, I don't need her pity. I don't need pity. I don't even need empathy. This is my life. And I mean, I know I'm tired and I took on a lot, but this is the life I chose. And I don't want to be pitied, especially by my mom, by my family. So
What do
yeah,
you
it
want?
makes me feel inadequate and
Mhm.
like crap.
Horrible. What do you want from her?
What do I want from her? Just to be there. I don't even need her help and support necessarily, just like normalcy, normal conversation, normal, right? Like, let's leave church and not talk about how my kids were and how hard it was. Let's just talk about the next thing. What are you doing this afternoon? I don't know.
Right. So be there. Normal. I hear neutral,
Yeah.
right? Not like, wow, you guys did great. Cause you're like, okay, mom, you're full of shit. Like that
Right.
was a disaster. I even know this. But it's like a understandable disaster.
Right.
And so, okay, not that. You don't want her being superficial and authentic, but you said, yeah, you're like, I don't even want her help and support. But right now you are getting her pity and like doubt.
Yeah.
Like it isn't supportive. It is actually trying to think of the word, but it's discouraging. It
Mm-hmm.
is discouraging. So her communication and look, as neutral or normal as maybe she aimed for, it's really not. It is detrimental for you, your
Yeah.
self-esteem, etc.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Shauna, I don't know if you're ever going to get that
Right.
because it's her. It is her. And so I am curious
So
how.
that's my question though, right? Like I recognize this is my mom. I recognize I'm gonna get the 10 million pity texts, the 10 million worried texts, the looks, I recognize that, and like, how can I like see that and like not let it come into me and affect me so much, and just kind of brush it off and not let it weigh on me and get me so frustrated and depleted again, short of cutting conversations and interactions with her.
Right. Yeah. We're not doing the guillotine. We're not chopping relationships off. Yeah, we're finding that balance. Like you talked about what you're cultivating before, and it's hard. It's hard to find that balance. So, you know your mom. Any idea, any creative response that comes to mind for, I know my mother, I know how she's going to look at me when we get out of this building. And in order for me to, it's going to come into me. Okay, I'm still being you, but you're like, how do I not let it come into me, affect me, deplete me? It's going to come into me. It's going to affect me. It's going to deplete me. How can I potentially lessen, right? If every time before this moment it's been 100%, just check. It's come into me. I'm affected by it. I'm depleted. Just like fill that 100%. Like, how can you potentially allow it to only come in like 90%, 80%?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, take a second.
Yeah.
Right? She is going to look at you. It is going to come into you. It is going to affect you. It is going to deplete you. Especially as you start out working on it. It's not going to be an easy, like, oh, that's her stuff, not mine. And I walk on content in my healthy boundary. No, it's like, God damn it, Mom. Oh, okay. She's giving me the look, the pity look. What can I do so it doesn't reach the full extent, right? That 100% of coming into me, affecting me, depleting me. What does 90% look like? Or how do I just push back 10%?
And I know maybe it's just coming up with a couple responses that like acknowledge what her thoughts and feelings are, but like kind of stand firm and defend where I'm at.
I'm writing this down. So you're already coming up with a process. So first step, acknowledge her thoughts and feelings. Step 2, stand firm with where I am at. So what would that have looked like with the pity look?
I probably just hearing her response, or like hearing her conversation, her comments, and then maybe making a statement like, that wasn't that bad, or it could have been worse, or
You
it is
sound
what
like
it
your
is.
mom.
What?
You sound like your mom. when you say that, right? The underdog. You're not the underdog, Mom.
Oh.
Like, so I push back because if she's saying to you like, oh, Shauna, you look exhausted, or, oh gosh, what else did she say? Oh man, where did I put it? Yeah, they're exhausting you, they're depleting you, you're not doing a good job. You could be like, that was a rough, what do you call it? Service? Yeah, that was a rough service. Yeah, that was rough, Mom. I saw it. You saw it. We both saw it.
Yeah.
Right? That's just like a mirror of what she's saying, as opposed to like, I mean, it could have been worse, yes. But yeah, I just hear, I don't know. I go back to when you were little and you said something and she was like, yeah, it could have been worse, Shauna. And you're like, who am I to complain? And just, yeah, there's this misconnection.
Yeah.
So acknowledge her thoughts and feelings. Try again. What comes naturally to you when she looks at you or makes a comment?
So, I mean, given that, I think it'd be as simple as saying, yeah, that was hard. And then changing the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And then what are you standing firm in, potentially silently, potentially verbally, to, again, like push back, like, so it's not like 100% coming into you, affecting you, depleting you. Like, yeah, what I like your idea where like I need to come up with a couple of responses for her, but maybe even some responses for you. Like, what do you need to hear in that moment?
That it was hard, but that's like, there are 4 children, 4 young children. It would be hard no matter who was sitting in my seat.
No matter.
Yeah.
Right. So giving yourself a reality check.
Yeah.
Like a kind, compassionate reality check. We'll say compassionate reality check. Right, harsh reality check is it could have been worse. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like everything could be worse, everybody. But I'm still feeling this way. So how do I validate my feelings without, yeah, just totally denying or being overwhelmed by them? A compassionate reality check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard. Self. No wonder it was hard. Self. You have 4 children. Are they like under the age of 6 now?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
2 toddlers.
So step 1, acknowledge her thoughts and feelings. Yeah. That was a lot, Mom. Step 2, stand firm. I don't know if it's a step 3 or that's part of step 2, but like acknowledging your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I think that inner dialogue is probably the biggest piece.
Right, I agree, because yeah, we are not gonna, we might, Shauna, you might be the first to change your mother. You might. It might happen. Who knows? But yeah, if you can change, if I can change, if we, dear listener listening to this, if we can change anything, it is how we talk to ourselves, which I sense like your inner dialogue is heavily influenced by your mother and her opinions of you, and she's just sprinkled in it. But yeah, like you becoming consciously aware of mom's high anxiety plus my inner dialogue equals taking it in, it affecting me, it depleting me. So how can it be mom's high anxiety plus my ongoing and continued perseverance in improving my inner dialogue equals it doesn't come in, affect, and deplete me as much?
Yeah, I think I have to even like before I like acknowledge or respond to my mom, like give myself those positive affirmations and acknowledgments.
Okay, I have to wrap up, everybody. So I'm going to end with this one tactical, I don't know, codependent hack suggestion. I have sought refuge in bathrooms. You have 4 children. I don't know if that's possible, but can you create some type of practice where either when you go to visit your mom, when you're in a gathering with her, or when you're at church, when church ends, I don't know, maybe your little ones have to go, and you can just tag team with your teammate and partner husband and say, babe, when I go, like I'm going to be meditating for a minute before I come out, just to regroup, because shit just went down during the service. And I know my mom's going to have an opinion about it. And I need to create some spaciousness during this very compressing time. So yeah, bathroom like after the service, bathroom while you're at your mom's, or however it looks when you visit her, bathroom breaks if and when you're in groups together. Bathrooms have been, again, a refuge for me. So your 15-second thought to that.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. And even getting to a space where I can, like, stepping away is really good, but even getting to a space where I can like do that just kind of mentally in her presence if I need to. But yeah.
Yeah. And like before, during, and after, because we're just aware. So after, of course, we don't play defense, but offense. We're learning how to play offense too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Shauna, thank you for coming on. You guys all have Shauna update us on how it goes. So acknowledge her thoughts and feelings, stand firm with where I'm at. Like acknowledge my thoughts and feelings / inner dialogue, and for seeking solace in the bathroom. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Are you there, Shauna?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you for coming on. Dear listener, if you guys want to come on, go through the same process as Shauna bravely did today, email Marissa at codependummy.com, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey girl, it's Marissa again. I'm not like a regular podcaster, I'm a cool podcaster, right? Thank you for listening and staying till the end. You can find me on Instagram at Therapy with Marissa. Email me, Marissa at codependummy.com. Check out codependummy.com for more information on the show. And baby girl, a subscribe, rating, and review would be much appreciated. Till next time, I want you to remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. I want you to go out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. And now, the disclaimer. Girl, this is not therapy and I am not your therapist. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, publisher, or guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional service. If you want or need a professional, please